Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney.
And I'm MK.
And how are ya?
You know, I'm all right. It's cooled down a little bit. So, and by cooled down, I mean it's still like in the 80s. It's just no longer bordering on
Right,
100.
right.
So I'm happy. It's funny because I don't hate the heat. I just hate doing things in the heat. Like I would love it to be 100 degrees if I didn't have to do anything. As soon as you tell me I have to do something when it's 100 degrees, we will not be friends.
I don't like any of those
I
things.
know you don't.
Hmm.
It's wild that you live there and I live here, and that's how we feel about the weather.
Yeah. I will say we have a lot better AC here than
That's true.
in New York. That is one thing that I always said while I was living up there. I was like, I just need to find a way to run away every summer, and not be here in the summertime. And here, I've done it. It
You
was
did
quitting my
it.
job and moving back to Rachel's house. So that
Oh,
was the solution.
that was the solution. No, I'm good. I because I had to clean out my classroom, I had to obviously take Pip out of the classroom, and Dan graciously said, "Why don't we just keep her here? You're here more anyway." And I was like, "Great." So now Pip lives at Dan's, and he, you know, not a pet person, never had a pet in his whole life, not really likes animals, but not an animal person the way I am. Since Pip moved in on Tuesday, mind you, it is Thursday. Um, we have ordered a new terrarium, a new stand for the terrarium, new things to put in the bigger terrarium, soil for her, and he has asked me 4 times if I want him to go pick up crickets today or if I will have time.
So he's sold now.
Yeah, he sends me a picture of her every night before bed and every morning when I wake up, in case I forgot what she looked like while I was asleep.
Right. Not that you didn't sleep without her while she was in the classroom.
Right. Right. I didn't live in the classroom. And then
Yes.
yesterday we were sitting there watching eating dinner and he just goes, "What's that noise?" I was like, "What?" He was like, "It's like a ticking sound. Is that the timer on her lamps?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh." I go, "Sorry, I don't hear it anymore. I'm used to it. I know." When he goes, "But that makes sense. I just okay." And he the LED lights in their living room, he's decided to only use the pink and the red because they're dark enough that it won't be too bright for her because they go on at the same time as her lights go off and he doesn't want to and so everything that
Stop.
I already knew about how he was going to be when he became a dad, I've just in the last 2 days, I've just been watching him with this lizard and being yesterday I was eating and then I went to go take her out and he goes, "Just be careful, you just had salt and vinegar chips. You don't want to get the salt on her skin." I was like, "Oh,
He is too much.
so sweet. It's so sweet. I
That is
can't."
very sweet.
So that's my current new obsessive joy in my life is watching this man try to be a lizard dad.
And I understand that lizards are high maintenance to an extent, but not every minute of every day.
Mm-mm. No, in fact, other than the actual setup and making sure that the food and the soil and the
Mhm.
setup is everything is correct, they're in fact incredibly low maintenance.
Right.
As long as I drop crickets in there twice a week, she literally wouldn't care if I never looked at her.
Yeah. Bless her heart. She's gonna be spoiled.
Yeah. He
Ugh.
still he still doesn't pick her up though. He still won't he doesn't take her out of the tank or anything. I will. I'll just go sit on the floor and
Right.
pick her up and crawl around with her and I'm like, "Well, I'm a fucking weirdo, it's fine."
That's okay. We found a baby gecko. It was this big in the house the other day, and I made Rachel get up and come look at it. And then we carried him outside, and then I tried to pet him, and he
Not like
escaped.
that. Yeah.
He didn't care for that. Well, he just jumped onto which we were trying to get him to jump on the door anyways, off of Rachel's hand because he couldn't live there forever.
Oh,
And so I was going to pet him on her hand, and then he just jumped onto the door. We were trying to get him on anyways.
okay,
So
all
it was
right,
fine.
fine. It's fine.
Yeah, for the best.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm on my second juice now because I'm supposed to drink them every 2 hours. This one is much better. It's green. I like the green ones better, so I'm very pleased about that.
Good.
I am a little hungry, which is not a good sign for
A juice.
noon.
Yeah, no. Nope. It sure is that.
um, but that's okay. That's fine. I'll be nice enough, probably. Um, but speaking of pets, I am going to stay with my pet this weekend, my little
Yeah,
Sadie girl.
I
I'm
miss
going to Baton
her.
Rouge tomorrow. Me freaking too. So I'm going to Baton Rouge tomorrow. I'm staying the weekend. And so I get to see my gal, and she is also spoiled. Speaking of being spoiled,
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure the
um,
aunt started spoiling her rotten.
they wake her up. She wakes up now at 4 a.m. with them and goes outside like 30 times a day, I think. And I was like, we are not going to be doing either of those things. We
No.
are not going to be waking up at 4 a.m. We are not going to bed at 6 p.m. We
No.
are not going outside 30 times a day.
No,
So
no, no.
just
But
embrace it while you
do
can.
you not remember what it was like to be in New York City? Dog Sadie, get it together.
Right, right. Yeah, no. Like you'll get more attention here even so, but
Right.
you're not sleeping at we are not awake at morning hours. Um I barely wake up at like 8 or 9 now. Um, but I also this week officially signed up for a bar prep. So
Nice.
I'm
Oh.
gonna do it. I'm gonna take the Louisiana bar. I feel like I want to throw up already. Like I'm not ready
Yeah.
for it, but it's fine. Yeah, so that is it officially starts in like November, I think, or end of November,
Mm,
early December. But I talked to Loyola and they were like, definitely do it as soon as it opens because you don't know Louisiana law. You didn't take those classes. I was like, you're right. You're right. I
yeah.
know two of the like 12 subjects I need to know.
Yeah, because
Um,
Louisiana is like, the most different laws of any state in the
it's French
Union.
law as
Yeah.
opposed to English law, which is
Yeah,
fun.
it's fun. It's
Um,
just wild that it's still that different than everywhere else.
yeah, I mean, I it doesn't surprise me. It's Louisiana, but yeah, it's so wild. So I have to so I should be able to like start studying. It should open up in October. I emailed my bar prep course and they were like, it should open in October and the book should be sent in September. So I should be able to start like some prep
Okay,
come September, which is scary, but
terrifying.
fine. It's fine. And then I'll be doing that like every breathing moment
Right.
that I'm not doing something else.
Which is not
Um,
many.
which is not many. So I'm gonna have to like get as much sleep as I want now and just stop sleeping when I
Yeah.
start studying for the bar. Like I think that's the only answer. So
I mean, I get it. I just keep remembering. I keep saying like, "Oh, well, it'll be fine because I'll finish school in December and I'll be certified." But I keep forgetting that like that means I have to take another test and I haven't taken a certification test in 6 years.
same.
So I'm like, shit. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The my professor, she was like, have you sat for a bar, just not this one? I was like, yeah. Yeah, I did that 6 years ago though. So actually it's been 5 years. It will be 6 years when I actually take the exam.
Yeah.
But still, same diff. Same
Yeah,
diff.
no, mine is more than 6 years because I started in Thailand 6 years ago last month. So that means my certification, and I was teaching for a while before that. So that means my certification tests were probably like 7 or 8 years ago, depending on which tests. Some of them were seven, some of them were
Yeah.
8. Gross.
Love
Okay.
it. Love it. Can't wait. So, yeah, so that's where I am. I'm at this very second. Okay, but probably not for long. So, while I'm in the weird headspace, could you give me a little bit of a spirituality?
I sure can. The Church of Meredith Grey. This is this
The
is
best one.
yeah, this is a long quote, but I think it
Okay.
actually weirdly it totally fits with what we're saying right now.
Excellent.
Remember when you were a kid and your biggest worry was like if you'd get a bike for your birthday or if you'd get to eat cookies for breakfast? Being an adult, totally overrated. I mean, seriously, don't be fooled by all the hot shoes and the great sex and the no parents anywhere telling you what to do. Adulthood is responsibility. responsibility. It really does suck. Really, really sucks. Adults have to be places and do things and earn a living and pay the rent. And if you're training to be a surgeon holding a human heart in your hands, hello, talk about responsibility. Kind of makes bikes and cookies look really, really good, doesn't it? The scariest part about responsibility, when you screw up and let it slip right through your fingers.
That was not spiritually uplifting. Let me.
It wasn't because it was the opening monologue. So tune in next week to the end monologue where it'll come together. Because
All right,
great.
so I'll just sit in disdain for a week.
You know, Grace likes to do that where they have really shitty feelings at the beginning, but then by the end of the episode, the problems are resolved, so the monologue's better.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Other things that are fine. This week we are talking about our good friend Hannibal, season 1, episode 11, roti. Probably how you say that. It aired. It's the French word, not the
It's not the Indian.
Italy.
Yeah.
So that's probably how you say it. It aired June 6th of 2013. It was rated 8.5 out of 10, which is a smidgen lower. Last week it was 8.7, but you know,
Okay.
it's fine. The number one song is still the same. The number one book, I think, is the same. Did we talk about Inferno last week? Last week's book, I think, was also Inferno.
Yes, it was because you were talking about when you read it or when you put it on your list to read that you haven't read yet.
And then the number one movie is The Purge, which probably had just come out, if I had to guess, because overall it's a fun movie, but it's not a number one movie.
Yeah.
By any means. I've only seen the first one.
I've seen none of them.
I think that might be the first movie I saw with Nick and Rachel in movies. I've seen Rachel movies, lots of movies with Rachel.
Oh, yeah. But
I think that was our first like movie outing together, the three of us.
Oh, very nice.
Who would have thought?
Well,
not a lot.
Well, tea in French also means roast. Just
it does, yeah. I just didn't know if I was saying it quite right.
Yeah, you are. I mean, they swallow the R a little bit more, but other than that, you know.
Yeah, and on this day, not a lot of things happened because they didn't talk about a lot of things happening because this was the day that everyone found out that the government was collecting phone and email records without having the approval, and people started discussing national security and the Privacy Act, et cetera, et cetera.
You said what, June what day?
6th.
June 6th. All right.
Of 2013.
What a time.
What a time. Our director is Guillermo Navarro, samesies. Our writers also same guys, Steve Lightfoot and Scott Nimarfaro. And the editor is still Stephen Phillipson. So I don't know if these have actually worked together, but we have had all of them so far on this show. So our guest star that we speak about this week. Yes.
Are we finally talking about him?
This week is indeed Raul Esparza, who plays Dr. Chilton. He is known for Ferdinand, Find Me Guilty, My Soul to Take, and Law and Order SVU.
Yeah, if you only watch TV.
If you only watch TV, yeah. We're getting to the other half later. As a member of the main cast, he is the first man to play an ADA on SVU.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And now we get into his second career. He is Tony nominated for everything he's ever done.
Correct.
Including Speed the Plow, Company, that might say Taboo. I was like, I can't see where there's just an extra marking in there for no reason. And he was the Broadway debut as Riff Raff in Rocky Horror. And then he was most recently in Oliver at what's it called? City Center. In 2023, which I went to that show, but I saw the understudy. I did not see him, which the understudy was also really good. But he was recently at that. And he shares a birthday with my mom.
Oh.
So that's nice. What are your comments about Raul Esparza?
I love Raul Esparza. He is phenomenal. His time in chess, which he was in, he did a concert version of chess in 2003, and then he did the pre-Broadway version in 2018. Um,
I do not know the show you're speaking of.
you don't know chess?
Mm-mm.
Ugh. He also, so hold on. So Chess is a show about chess masters. Like
Sure.
it's literally a musical about people who play chess, but it is so beautiful. Um, and the music is by Benny Anderson and Bjorn Ulvaeus from
Mm-hmm.
ABBA.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a Cold War era chess tournament between two grandmasters, one American and one Soviet. And it is
So it's
just,
drama.
yeah, it is drama and it is so good. Um, it apparently once placed seventh in a BBC radio poll of the UK's number one essential musicals,
Oh.
which is interesting. But it is, yeah, it's really good. But my favorite Raul Esparza is a very random thing. My favorite Raul Esparza Broadway role is when he played Hereticus Potts in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
That's so random.
Because I just love Chitty Chitty Bang Bang so much.
I also haven't seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Get like on stage or the movie.
Oh.
Oh God.
Look, you've known me long enough to know that nothing I know about movies makes real sense. That I've watched
Like,
things that other people have never heard of, and then the stuff that everyone's seen, I've never even like seen it, sometimes not heard of it.
um,
So
there is a character in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang called the Kitty Catcher, who kidnaps children.
I was
Um,
gonna say like cats or like children.
no children. But he
Good. Good.
dresses up as like a candy man to do that, and he's like real fucking creepy looking because like this is like 1960s like live action like Dick Van Dyke kind of movies, and he's
Mhm.
real fucking creepy looking, and he just walks around trying to catch the kids, and he goes lollipops, lollipops and ice cream, and my cousins and I we would like sneak up behind each other and whisper that to each other when we were kids.
I do need to watch that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
Zach told me recently, day before yesterday, I think we were talking about there's a new horror movie coming out in for Christmas. I don't remember what it is now, but there's a new one coming out and he sent it to me and I was like, yes, I can't wait. And then he was like, I think this is going to rank up there with my tops. And he listed his tops and I'd seen like half of them, but like all of them were like things people have heard of. And he was like, you're like the horror queen. How do you not seen these shows? I was like, look, do you want to hear about my horror list? Because you probably have, he probably actually has heard of most of the ones I've seen,
yeah,
even though no one else has. I
yeah,
was like, I would say at least 60% of the horror movies I've seen, no one in the rest of the world has ever heard of them.
yeah.
I was like, I don't make sense when I pick movies. I just watch them.
No, well, and
So,
my thing is, I've seen a lot of movies that most people have seen. I also have not seen a lot of movies that most people have seen because I'm really more of a TV person than a movie
mhm.
person. But the movies that are like my favorite movies are all fucking random as shit and like do not make any sense for me as an existing human being. Like if I had to pick my top five favorite movies, um, the only two I'm 100% sure of are Beauty and the Beast and Billy Madison, which like then what the fuck is wrong with me? Um, but
Look, those were two of my favorite things to watch as a kid.
Yeah,
So I
Chitty
get
Chitty
it.
Bang Bang might be up there in terms of like my nostalgic favorite movies. So like
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'm doing my back watch, through my Disney stuff too. Like I've been
yeah,
watching from the beginning, but I
yeah,
kind of fell off the movie train recently. I've been watching anything honestly, other
yeah,
than Stargate and Hannibal. Like I've just been so
yeah.
busy.
No, I
But
finally caught up on RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars, but I had to watch 9 episodes. Between All Stars and Untucked, I watched 9 episodes in the last 3 days, and I was like, oh, okay, now I'm caught up. Um,
yeah, I
but
anticipate we'll catch up on Mass Singer this weekend while I'm there.
Oh, you still haven't finished it?
I watched it because I watched it with my aunts, and
Yeah,
it's
that's right. That's
so
right.
chaotic. Like, bless
Yeah.
their hearts. I hope they've watched it without me, but I wouldn't
No,
blame them if they did.
I only
So
have I only have one episode of Doctor Who to watch to catch up, but then the reality documentary TV show that the Cowlitz twins from Tokyo Hotel have on Netflix in German started this week, and so now I'm gonna be
mm,
behind on TV again because now I have to go watch
sure.
Cowlitz and Cowlitz. So
Yeah.
it'll be great. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So we love Raul Esparza.
Yeah,
All to say. All
that
to
for
say.
sure.
um, and so now we get into this episode. And our previously on is Will and Alana and Eddie Izzard, which obviously we thought that would be, you had mentioned that was your guess, was that he would be coming back soon.
Yeah.
And he indeed did. And then we go to Hannibal, who is feeding Dr. Childers, which is all, or nope, his name is
Dr. Chilton.
Chilton. I wrote
Chilton.
Childers and
It's
I was like,
no,
this isn't right. I'm going to fix it
no,
later. And then I
no,
didn't come back and fix
Chilton.
it.
I only remember for
Yeah,
sure that it's Chilton because that's the school that Rory went to in Gilmore Girls.
it is. You're correct. Yep. Yep. Yeah, so he's feeding Dr. Chilton and they're talking about, Will, obviously, and they're talking about the psychic driving that was done for
Yeah,
Gideon.
and Dr. Chilton admits that he definitely fucking did that and that there was no
Yeah, but
that.
he's like, I don't know why it stopped working. And he's like, well, once they realize you're manipulating them, it doesn't work anymore. Like the whole point
No.
is they don't know they're being manipulated. And which like gaslighting much. So obviously the psychic driving had stopped working on him.
Yeah.
Um, and then we pop over to Will's house, who is dreaming about an avalanche. And then it turns into the body totem pole and a wave crashing over it. And then he wakes up at 8:19 p.m. to a very dolly melting clock on his nightstand.
And then his whole bed is like water and this was the most fucking wild shit I've ever seen.
I know. It's like if you had a waterbed and just stabbed it.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of. Um, and so then he's awakened officially,
Yeah.
and the dogs are very concerned about him, obviously. These poor dogs, I know like Sadie's been through a bit because I have a little bit of bad sleeping habits sometimes,
Yeah.
but like not this bad. Not this bad. Um, and then we go to Baltimore, where our friend Gideon is hanging out and getting ready to leave, and he's talking to the doctor, and he's telling him, he's telling Chilton, he's like, you told me all this was true. You're the reason all this happened. He was like, I'll take the blame for my family. Like I did that
He's like,
consciously.
he's like, I killed my wife and my kid, and I know that.
Yeah. He was
But
like, you're the reason I killed that nurse. Like that is all your fault because you put
yeah.
all these ideas in my head. And he's gonna sue him now for that. To be fair, if he's that like competent right now, like that he knew then. He just is using this as an excuse now.
I don't know though, because I think like when you are mentally unstable, you trust your therapist. And if he was in a position
Right.
where like he genuinely had a mental break when he killed his wife. And like
Right.
Dr. Chilton even says that like he was stable until he killed his wife. Or no, Dr. Chilton doesn't say it. Somebody says he was stable and then he killed his wife and that's what broke him. Um, so if he was genuinely in that place and Dr. Chilton like was doing psychic driving and like pushing him to think that he was this person, then I don't think that he is responsible for that. I think that, and I think that basically, I think basically that like Alana opening his eyes to the fact that he was being manipulated was the only anchor in reality that he had, which is why he also like even in his awakened sense didn't know who the fuck he was or what was going on.
Yeah. And I do agree with that. I do think that is true, but I think by the time he killed the nurse, he had figured it out because he had talked to Alana before then. And so I think that he knew going in that he wasn't actually the killer and that he was going to blame the doctor for it, almost as like revenge for psychic driving.
Maybe
he just didn't I still don't think he had all of his mind. Like, I don't think he knew who he was. I mean, he still doesn't really,
Yeah,
but um, I think it because he had started talking to people by then is what kind of made him snap and kill her.
that's fair.
Um, was more learning it. Do, 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 do. Yeah, so then he's in the truck moving to his next destination, which we'll never see what that may be. And he starts asking them if they're married, and they both are completely ignoring him.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, that long, yeah, blah 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 blah," and they're just completely ignoring him. He was like, "You should kill your wives," like because he this seems to
He's
work
like,
out that one of them is not doing well with
he was
his
like,
life.
rather, he's like, don't worry about getting a divorce. Don't go through all that trouble. Just kill her. Works better for me.
Yeah, he's like, "It's so much less paperwork," and he just kept saying, "It's so much less paperwork," and I was like, "This is not the solution."
I mean, to be fair, I do tell my students that they're not allowed to get hurt because I can't fill out the paperwork.
Right. Which is fair, but your alternative is that they are not getting hurt, not that they're killing people.
Correct. No, for
So,
sure, for sure, for
right.
sure.
So, not a great thing. But then we get the credits. And our credits start.
Okay, our credits are kind of weird this time, but it's also because that one scene isn't actually the credits. It's what's happening in the
Right.
truck. Um,
But they weave
and
it
they
into
tied
like
it into the
how they do
credits
the
in a
credits.
really, really cool way. But Dan was watching the episode with me and he goes, now, did he actually just kill that guy or did he just imagine it? And I was like, oh no, that man is dead. That I was like, I don't know exactly what's happening in this visual right now, but that man is dead.
For sure, Dad. Bless his heart. Yeah. So we get our credits and we have the blood soaking through the shirt, which like kind of brings it all in and then ties together to have our regular credits. Um, and then we go to Will at the crime scene and we just jump right in. He has the
Yeah.
rewind happening. And he's of course going into the truck with the two men. And he he says, "All I need is one hand free." And then he breaks his hand to get out of the handcuffs,
Yeah.
and then proceeds to just completely murder the two men and escape. Which like
Yeah.
that's how it goes. He should have been handcuffed and like which obviously we in the Hannibal movies learn that they do a lot more tying people down. They've learned their lesson, but
Yeah.
they haven't yet.
Right.
um and then we flash back to the scene. We're out of Will's head and Gideon has hung their organs up by their like intestines and like or ligaments or something in the trees, which is a thing I guess people can do. And
Well,
so they're
also
like
the guys, like also the guys, I never remember the two guys' names who help Beverly,
Zeller and
like
Price.
yeah, Zeller and Price, they're like honestly, it's kind of beautiful, like the craftsmanship.
Yeah. What a weirdo. I love it. Um but yeah, they're like, no, this is the Ripper. Like he's clearly trying to make a name, like he's doing this now. And Will's like, it's absolutely not the Ripper
No.
because he would never leave the organs behind. Like that's the big point of what he does.
In fact, I
Is
thought I basically, in my mind, what I saw was him hanging the organs up to say, like, this is what you got for calling me the Ripper. I'm gonna not only kill them, I'm gonna
right.
waste the organs to tell you all fuck off. Like, that's what I
Mm-hmm.
saw.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I mean, obviously, everything he's doing now is a message to the Ripper at this point. So that
Yeah.
would, make complete sense.
Yeah.
Um, and then there are footprints that are going back towards Baltimore. And so we go back to Baltimore, and Will and Alana go to visit Dr. Chilton. And they're talking about whether, getting this the Ripper or not, and how, upset they are about him doing the psychic driving. And he's like, I've never done anything wrong. Blah, 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 blah. Like a moron.
And they basically accuse Dr. Chilton of actually being the one to crash the truck and kill everyone
Yeah.
because it would save him from the scandal of the trial.
Yeah.
Which
Which
that would
is
be a wild twist of events if that were
that
what
would be a
happened.
wild twist. And would not have I would have believed it until the end of this episode.
Oh yeah, no, like at this point I know for sure that that's not how that went
Right.
down, but God, I would have loved
But it
that.
would have made sense, yeah.
I mean, I also like how things happened in this episode too, but like would have been fascinating if he was really that fucked up.
Yeah. So then we head back over to the FBI, and Jack is talking to all the FBI agents about Gideon and his escape. He's like, this is what we know. We need to figure out like who all the people are that are around him that he might go try to get after.
Yeah.
And Will starts seeing things again. He's like, he's there listening and watching Jack, and then he just starts seeing him surrounded by the antlers from the Ripper, and his antics. And then he starts seeing Jack yelling at him that he will kill again, like, you will kill again, you will kill again. And it's just, bless his heart, can't get out of his own head.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, to be fair, his brain is melting and no one's
I
cares.
know.
So
Yeah. Not a great thing. But yeah, so then we go to Hannibal and Will says he feels crazy and he fears that he's going to get to a point where he doesn't know who he is. He's like,
yeah.
I already feel like I'm losing a part of myself. I already feel like I don't really know myself, but like, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he starts comparing himself to Gideon and he's like, I'm losing my mind. He's lost his mind. Like,
Yeah.
these memories are gone. What happens if I become like him?
Right.
And, Hannibal just pretends like nothing is real, moves on. So we go back to the lab, and Zeller thinks that they're finding that they'll find clues. He's like, here, we'll look at all the stuff. We're gonna find clues. We're gonna get an answer. And Will's like, you won't. There are no clues for you. He was
Yeah.
like, there will be a message to the Ripper, and that is it.
Yeah.
No one else is going to get anything. And they start talking about how the bodies were actually injured, and they were like, it's a lobotomy. And he was like, well, it's not quite a lobotomy because his brain is just scrambled, not removed. And it was very what's the word, representative of like how
Yeah.
Gideon's brain had been scrambled.
He was like, that's what he felt. Like he felt like all these people just like cut him open and turned his brain into jelly. Like, so that's what he did to them.
And that's when the walls start dripping. And so,
or do they?
or yeah, in Will's mind, the walls start dripping. And he's talking about all this, and he's trying to like stay like as sane as he can.
Yeah.
And then they mentioned that like the list of the people that need to be like watched out for, because who's Gideon going to try and go after?
Like they say, yeah, every therapist who made him feel anything in his mind.
Yeah. And that's when we learn Alana's on the list, which tracks. But that's when it clicks for Will.
Yeah.
And so then we go to Will and Alana. And Alana is still super flirty with Will. After she is like, she knows that he's insane.
She knows that they can't be together. Heart. She's like, already crushed his heart when he has nothing good in his life right now and his brain's melting. But like trying to have a relationship with her was the only thing keeping him like grounded in any sense of reality.
Right. And like, it just kind of makes me a little fussy, makes me a little angry at her. Cause like, you know that you're not helping.
No.
Like, you're only making things worse. Because now not only is he losing his mind, he's upset. Like, yeah. It's just not a good sign, not a good look. But then they start talking about Gideon, and she's like, I know like they're gonna find him and they're gonna kill Gideon, aren't they? And Will's like, yeah, the Ripper's gonna do it. Like, she was like, what happens if he finds him? And he's like, he'll kill him. Like, that's the only answer.
Option.
He took his like prestige for a while. He pretended to be him for a while, like, and now he's gonna like go up to front against him. Like,
because at this point, the thing we know the most about the Ripper is that his ego is the most important thing to him.
Right. And but then we pop over to our friend Freddie that we haven't seen in a while. And poor Freddie she gets a call from Paul Carruthers, who is a psychology doctor.
Well, here's the biggest problem. I mean, you could tell it was Eddie Izzard's voice, but the biggest problem was that the subtitles said Abel Gideon as Dr. Carruthers. Like it said on Abel Gideon on the phone in the like subtitles. So as soon as
It's
she
so
answered the
funny.
phone before he started talking and I had a chance to recognize the voice, the subtitles gave away the fucking twist. And as soon as
That's
she
so
answered the
funny.
phone, I just go, "Oh no, Freddy's gonna die now."
I know. Yeah, I didn't have the subtitles on, so I didn't see it, but I did.
Oh,
I mean, immediately recognize his voice. It's not like he has a
I just yeah,
hard to
there's
recognize voice.
right.
Um, yeah, so he wants to work with her and write with her, he says. So he calls her out. And so then we start seeing this visual of blood filling up tubes. And Freddie walks into this office to talk with the doctor. And of course, as we know, it's Gideon. And he's there with the dead doctor. And that's the blood from the doctor is being filled into these like blood bags, the opposite way of how they should be going.
Yeah.
Um, and then the FBI team arrives. And it turns out that Gideon has taken all of the blood from the doctor, put it into the ice chest to Mark to go to the Red Cross.
Mm-hmm.
So what a guy. And then as they're kind of like exploring the crime scene and trying to figure out like what happened and how they're going to handle it, a story pops up about the dead
Mm-hmm.
doctor. And Will immediately knows that he has Freddie. He's
Well, because
like,
they're trying to figure out that everybody else is looking at it. They're like, who leaked the pictures? And Jack is like, no, look at the picture. The blood is
yeah.
in the cooler yet in this picture. And so, and Will's like, shit.
He's like, what journalist can be kidnapped? And
That's who,
would,
what journalist is going to be that stupid and still get the story out?
yep.
Only Freddie.
So then we go to Freddie and Gideon, and they're talking about the articles, and um, she asks, like, he's like talking about, he was like, I hope that the Ripper sees whatever. She's like, I thought you were the Ripper, and he's like, don't patronize me. He's like, we both know that that's not true. Like, I'm obviously he knows, and then he starts talking about remembering things that never happened, which, as we know, is what's happening with our friend Will. So a lot of good Will and Gideon comparisons here, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate. So we pop back over to the lab, and
we all have to do a little bit more.
Sorry, my phone just started playing something on its own.
I was wondering, I was like, what is happening? So we go back to the lab, and Dr. Khan is also dead now, and they start talking about Gideon and Freddie and how to like get a hold of her, and they're like, oh well, if he killed Dr. Khan, and they're like, and Will's like, no, the Ripper killed Dr. Khan, like this was a response
Yeah.
to what happened to Carruthers. And he says you can tell by the arm being missing that this is a message specifically for Jack to note that that Gideon is now
to tell Jack where to find Gideon.
right, that he's in the last place that he saw a severed arm, which was Marianne Lass's arm. So we pop over there, and Gideon is currently doing surgery on Chilton with Freddie, and he has Freddie holding the like ventilator thing, and so he's like, just keep pumping air out if he seems
If he
like he
stops
needs
breathing,
it.
yeah, like
Yeah. And then he starts removing the intestines, and then he removes the liver, and he starts talking about like it's amazing how many organs you can take out of someone's body before it
before.
completely shuts down. And he is like slapping him to keep him awake. Like it is like, I get you're mad at this man, and this is not it.
But
Like
it is next level psychotic.
this is a little too far. And so then Will and Jack are on their way to this venue, and Will starts talking about like he says he feels like kind of like fluidy, and he was like, I think I'm getting sick. He was like, I don't know, like I hope it's not contagious. I don't know what's going on, but I
Yeah.
just don't feel well. Like, of course you don't. You have high level stage encephalitis. Of course you don't feel
Right.
well. But Jack just tells him, he's like, it's fine. You just have to like let everything go. You can't hold on to everything so much. Like, that he's like a pure empath. Like, that's not really a thing, but
Yeah.
that's also not going to help him in the stage.
Yeah.
And then they get there, and Jack is going in with a gun, and he is ready. And then Will starts to follow him, but he then starts seeing the deer near the woods and decides to follow the deer instead. And so when they get inside, Gideon
Which-
has left.
Which is
Okay.
like weirdly the correct thing to do, even though it doesn't at all feel like it should
It
be.
is right, right. It is, but it's
Also
not
not.
for the right reasons.
Right, yeah, no.
Um, so they go outside and Gideon has left Freddie there, and she's just pumping air into Chilton's like chest, and he's holding all of his organs and like on his stomach, and she's just in a panic, and she's just like, he's gone. Like he's gone.
I
This
don't
is
know.
happening.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know what
what
to
to
do.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then we get to Gideon's car because he's of course watching all of this go down as he's getting ready to leave. And he starts talking to someone in the back seat, and it turns out that it's Will. Will has gone and gotten into his car, and he starts seeing him as Hobbs. And Will threatens him and tells him he has to start driving. And so they go to Hannibal's office, and Hannibal immediately starts grounding him. And he's like, "This is where you are. This is what time it is. Like, your Will." And he's like, "I don't know. I don't care about any of that right now." He's like, "I just need to know if this man is real." And Will tells him he thinks it's Hobbs, and Hannibal tells him that no one is there.
The way this was shot, where it kept going back and forth between reality with Abel sitting
Mhm.
there and Will's reality with Hobbs sitting there, and then Hannibal's projected reality with no one sitting there, and the way it kept flashing between the three, depending on the angle you were looking at the table, was so fucking good.
Yeah, very reminiscent of the police scene in Bates Motel
Yes.
where they go back and forth between Norma and Norman a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was very good. It was like we know what's happening, but had you just walked in and seen that scene, you would have no idea which one was
I mean, to
right.
be honest, that scene was shot so well that for a split second, I wasn't sure if Abel was in the room or not, or if
Yeah,
or like I couldn't. There was just a moment. I mean, I assumed Hannibal was lying because Hannibal sucks,
right.
but like there was a moment where I wasn't sure if Hannibal was lying or if like Will's reality was that fucked up that we couldn't tell what was happening. Like I was like,
Mhm.
it was very, very, very well done.
Yeah, it was an impressive scene. Um, yeah, so he starts telling him that, no one's there, and then Will starts seizing. And Hannibal is not bothered by it. He just like calms him down, and Abel's like, "Is he okay? Like, do you need to like get him?" He was like, "It was a seizure." He was like, "He had a seizure though." And he was like, "But it was mild."
It was like it was a minor seizure. It's fine.
And then Hannibal starts questioning Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't know before today that Hannibal is a psychopath, here
Yeah.
you go. Here you go. This scene will tell it to you all. Um, and so then when Will comes back, Hannibal's grounding him again and like making sure he's okay. And then Hannibal, tells him to smile, and he looks creepy as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Like this smile is so terrifying.
Yeah.
Um, but then he also convinces him that he saw no one. He's like, "You thought someone was there, they weren't. You're just, seeing stuff. It's okay." And he's like, but he mentions that, Gideon's probably going after Alana, and he's like, "I'm gonna go check on him." And he leaves the gun on the table, obviously. And so Will gets it and runs off to go see Alana, and Hannibal comes back inside because he knew exactly what he was setting him up for. And as Will had anticipated, the Ripper did anticipate killing Gideon. He just didn't do it himself. Um, because we go to
Yeah.
Alana's house, and Abel is indeed standing outside, and Will just walks up to him with a gun, and Abel starts telling him about not knowing himself, and he's like, "This is, where I am. This is how things are going." And he just looks at Will, and he's like, "I'm you.
Yeah.
Like, we're the same person." And then he still sees Hobbs, and he knows that he still sees Hobbs saying that he's going to kill Alana, and we hear a gunshot, and Alana looks out to see Will standing over Abel, and then he just falls over.
Yeah.
So then Hannibal and Jack are chatting, and Jack is certain Will is going to get better. He's like, it's just a thing. He'll be fine. I'm like, there's
The
been so
other
much
the
going on.
other thing there is, but the other thing about this moment and this moment with Jack and Hannibal that I really was curious about was because clearly this is Will collapsing and all of this happening during the case and the FBI agent being at Alana's and seeing it and everything
Mhm.
means that the Bureau is who rescued Will and put him in a hospital, which means it's
Mhm.
not a doctor that Hannibal chose.
Right. Right. That
So,
is an important note.
so is this the moment where we figure out how bad everything actually is, or is Hannibal going to find some way to sweet talk someone else?
Never know. I think we'll get some indication, but I don't even know if they're gonna do like a brain scan immediately because I don't think they're as worried about his mental state because he just came in and was saying how sick he felt and how he felt, flu-like and stuff. And so I think they're
Yes,
gonna try and just treat him for like the flu first.
but here's the thing, because of where he's at and how bad he is, if he has any seizures while in the hospital, they have to.
Right. Yes, if he has a seizure, it depends on how his actions are once he gets there. Because
Right.
I feel like
But
Hannibal could, I
based
mean,
on how he's been in the last two episodes, how would he be in the hospital for any period of time without either having a complete dissociation or a seizure? Like, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I hope not. I hope that he has an action that then is treated by the
Right. Like I've
hospital.
never wished for a seizure, but like I hope
Right.
so, because otherwise the doctors might just continue to be fucking useless.
Right. Because I could see them trying to like rush them through, like um I hate this guy. Sorry. Um, so I feel like they're gonna put him in and Jack because Jack's like he's got the flu, he'll get better. They're gonna put him on some fluids, they're gonna run him through, and then if he doesn't have anything happen pretty quickly, like I bet they'll keep him overnight, but not much longer. And if nothing happens, or if Hannibal's like he's got a comes in and is like he has a mental disorder, so disregard this information. Like he just needs to be treated for flu-like symptoms, and then I'll keep treating him outside of it. Like they might not,
Yeah.
who's to say? Um, but yeah, so Hannibal has also told Jack that he thinks that Will should not be able to carry firearms right now. And
And here's the
that's,
thing.
yeah.
I, in this moment, agree.
Mhm. Yes.
However, I think Hannibal is doing it to protect himself,
Yep.
not Will. Because the more Will loses control, the more likely the person who gets hurt, being Hannibal.
Yeah. I think so too. And I agree. He does not need a gun right now,
Right.
but also like Hannibal wants to be able to manipulate how and when he uses guns, obviously. And so if he isn't allowed to carry a gun, then the only time that he would use it is when Hannibal wanted him to, basically.
Yeah.
Just like what happened with Gideon.
Yeah.
And so I think he's doing it a little bit on the both sides.
Right. And I think the more like at the because if in the hospital Will finds out anything, Hannibal's the person he's coming after for lying
Right.
to him. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah,
So
that's true. That's true. Um, Yeah, and we do see him in the hospital, and Alana is sitting over him, watching him, holding his hand as she does. And then we end our show with Hannibal and Jillian, and Hannibal's telling her that he sees Will's madness and he wants to contain it like an oil spill. And then they talk about madness kind of like it's a drug because he's like, sometimes you need it to like, move forward, or sometimes it gets like a little bit of addicting thing, but like it's more like a drug than like an illness, I guess.
yeah.
But he's like, but I also want to take care of him because of the possibility of this friendship, because he's never had that possibility before.
Oh, but then she
Um,
she says something so insane. Like it's wild, but it's like she says sometimes your only job is for with madness is to watch it.
yeah, because he says, I just saw him lose his mind. And she says, sometimes all we can do is watch.
Yeah.
And it's like she knows how insane Hannibal is, but can't do anything about it because there's
Yeah.
no one at imminent danger. Like,
Yeah. Well, that she knows
So
of. But
right. But like as a
uh,
mandatory reporter, she doesn't have anything
yeah,
to mandatorily report.
correct. But also like even outside of this in this situation, like just that whole speech that she gives about it, about how sometimes we can't fix things. Like sometimes you don't have your job isn't to fix people, it isn't to fix situations, it isn't to fix the world. Sometimes it's just to know what's going on.
Yep. Yep.
Fucking deep.
It was very deep. It was very deep. Um, yeah, and that's where we end. That's the end of the episode. Um, I don't have any trivia, so do you have any thoughts, predictions?
I mean, I was a little disappointed in this episode just in the sense that I really didn't know. Oh, I wanted the Georgia story to continue and it
Mm-hmm.
didn't because I really liked that cliffhanger at the end
Yeah.
of last episode. And because there's only two episodes left in the season, I'm hoping that they uh oh no, wait. Yeah, there's two episodes
Yeah.
left. Yeah, there's two
Hmm.
episodes left. I'm hoping that they kind of come back to that sooner. Like
Yeah.
I just I mean if even if they save it till the last episode, fine, but like I will be very upset if it doesn't get addressed. I think it makes more sense for the story arc to get addressed next week, would
Hmm.
be, I guess, because I guess it does make sense that they had to go back and address the Gideon and Chilton things and not go right into Georgia. Otherwise, that storyline wouldn't have been closed. And not that it's closed, but
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Um,
But it is to an extent. I mean,
yeah.
Gideon's dead now, so I
I
mean,
mean,
Chilton, I'm
Chilton's
sure
still
is
a
gonna
fucking piece of shit, but that's fine.
right. But I think that's gonna be ongoing. I don't think that's a gonna be a
Yeah.
close storyline.
Yeah. So like I guess it makes sense that they needed to close the Gideon storyline before they closed the Georgia storyline, but like that was the only thing that I was like, okay, what
See,
about what about her?
yeah, I think that that's going to kind of be part of the finale because I think what we're going to do is we're going to lead into Will. We're going to see him in the hospital. We're going to see whatever outcome that is. And I think that's going to lead back into
Okay.
Abigail and Miriam. And then it's all going to come back to Hannibal because of Georgia. And I think that he's going to find a way out of it. But I think that that's going to kind of be the progression is like she's the only one who has a true sense that he's done anything.
See,
Um,
I don't think the end of the season is gonna have anybody knowing anything about Hannibal. I think the season is gonna wrap up without Hannibal having been caught. I think
well,
that
I don't know that they'll catch him. I think that that's like her storyline is going to be the last one though. Like I think that's going to be, I think he's going to know that she knows and then he'll probably kill her. But like,
see,
I think that's going to be the last piece.
I think the last piece of the season is gonna be Will being committed
Mhm.
and like him being locked up because he's lost his mind.
Yeah. And I could see that being either of the next two episodes,
Yeah.
honestly. Um,
I think we both I think are the two plots are there. It's just a matter of what order they do them in or how
right.
they connect them.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. And
oh,
so I feel like this one kind of leads us into like Will being committed because he's going to
yeah.
the
See,
hospital.
but
And
but they keep doing this thing where they lead you until you think you know exactly what the
yeah,
next plot's going to be, and then they do the other one. Like
because it
every
would have
time,
made more sense to have Georgia this
yeah,
weekend.
every time I think that like, oh, like we're gonna get another Abigail story, we don't, we get a new character, and then the next week we get the Abigail story. Like they
Hmm.
keep subverting what we think, and that's why I think we're gonna do Georgia first and then Will's
That makes
Madness because
sense.
it makes more sense for Will's Madness to come next
Yeah.
week.
That's
That's
true. That would make sense.
That's
Yeah.
the only reason I think that we're gonna do Georgia first because every time I think I know, like that I think they're gonna follow directly in the story, they don't.
Yeah. No, they don't. That is completely true. Um, yeah. So I think that's pretty much sums it up. So
Yeah.
who do you want to punch in the face?
Dr. Chilton. I mean, there's some definitely
Fair.
some worse people in this episode. Because Hannibal's fucked up and Dr.
Yeah.
Gideon's fucked up, but like Dr. Chilton, he brought this all on all of us.
That is true. That is true. I think that is fair. I think I'm gonna go with Hannibal. Just, you know, take the easy road because he did do a lot of extra bad things this episode.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think I'm gonna go with him. Who is your MVP then?
Oh shit, I forgot there's gotta be somebody good in this episode. Sorry, my ring light is like flickering. And I know it's like freaking me out a little bit. I think I'm gonna have to say Alana because I don't know that anybody else even did anything in that whole
Yeah,
episode.
that's
So,
fair.
I mean, she didn't really do anything
Um,
either except for continue to lead Will on and then need a
right.
bodyguard. But like, at least she didn't completely suck as a person.
Yeah. Along the similar veins, I think I'm gonna go with Freddie because like she kept Chilton alive while we want to punch Chilton. She did like not let
Yeah.
him die, and she tried to help as best she could after she was found, like,
Yeah.
and she talked her way through it with Gideon and didn't die. So like, I guess her.
Yeah. Right? It's like, sure.
Yep. Yeah. And so if you have any thoughts, feelings, concerns, questions, etc., you can email us deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us at all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can find me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we will see you next Sunday for Sci-Fi Sunday. Bye.